Hey guys, today we'll be going through a sci-fi action adventure film named Jumper, released back in the year 2007. Warning, there are spoilers ahead, so be careful. In the beginning, we are introduced to our protagonist David, who is seen chilling on top of a pyramid. He tries to make us feel like shit by flexing his lifestyle to us, saying that he was able to surf in the Maldives, have coffee in Paris, and even attend an NBA game all in one day because of his ability to teleport. However, it wasn't always like this. In fact, several years ago, David was an ordinary high school student just like the rest of us. He was the quiet and nerdy type who had a crush on this one chick named Millie. Sometime after school, he tried to impress her with a gift, and right before she could thank him for it, some random guy snatches it and throws it on a frozen lake, and David, being the sharp-minded individual that he is, decides to walk across the frozen lake to retrieve it in hopes of impressing his crush, Millie. However, his celebration is short-lived as the ice below him soon breaks and he drops down. He struggles to get out and is dragged further due to the current. Just when it looks like he's about to drown, he teleports into the school library soaking wet. He has no idea what happened and awkwardly leaves like he pissed himself. Later on, David makes it home. Here, his dad, who is his only parent, gives him shit for being late and even more shit just for the sake of giving shit. David isn't feeling it and runs up to his room. His dad follows him to give him more shit and then tries to break in like he's home. Oh wait, it is his home, my bad. Right before his dad is about to get in, David teleports back to a library again. Here, David realizes that he doesn't have to deal with all of this and can easily run away from it, so he decides to leave town. He packs his stuff from his room and also leaves a farewell gift in Millie's backyard since he plans on staying dead and also to avoid the headache of having to explain everything. David makes his way to New York City. Here he rents a shady apartment, and once he settles in his new room, which looks like a prison cell by the way, he heads out to practice for a bit. At first he has trouble controlling it and looks like an idiot, but eventually gets the hang of it though. Kind of. David also realizes that he needs to visibly see where he's going in order to teleport, and with that in mind, he decides to pay a quick visit to the bank. And yeah, you guessed it, he plans on robbing it. Inside the bank, he swiftly peeks at the bank vault to get an idea of what it looks like, and at nighttime, he dresses up like a homeless person and tries to teleport, but makes a pit stop in a bathroom first, since he doesn't have one. Then he teleports to the bank vault, where he makes multiple trips and ends up with so much money that he doesn't even know where to store it. And this scene does look really familiar. The next day, a mysterious man named Roland, played by Samuel Jackson, visits the bank with his totally not fake hair. He isn't surprised that the culprit didn't need to open the vault at all, and instead asks for the names of everyone that entered within the past 30 days, believing it to be a jumper, a word they use for teleporters. Fast forward to 9 years later, David is now living in a penthouse suite in New York City. He seems to be doing well on borrowed cash and is definitely in the process of paying it back. He briefly watches the news, and instead of going to help these stranded folks, he grabs a stack of cash and heads out to enjoy himself. First, he teleports to London, where he hooks up with a chick. However, some shady guy notices what he did and keeps an eye on him. After he ditches the chick, he heads to Fiji to surf for a bit and then ends the day with dinner on top of a pyramid, of course. As David enjoys himself, Mr. Roland is here busting his ass hunting down a jumper. He manages to trap the jumper, and before killing him, he says that only God should have this power and then stabs him. Turns out Roland works for a secret organization that specializes in hunting jumpers. I feel like they're just jealous of jumpers. Afterwards, he receives a call about his next target and heads out. Now we go back to David, who is just returning home. He notices that he has an unwanted visitor in his suite, this unwanted visitor being Roland. Roland asks him how he's able to afford all of this and even makes fun of his IOUs that he left behind all these years. He even goes as far as to offer him financial advice, but David isn't too fond of it and tries to leave, but has trouble opening his door. And yes, he actually has trouble opening a door. Roland stops him with his electric powered toy and pins him to the wall while simultaneously breathing down his neck. David is somehow able to muster enough strength to teleport. He ends up back in his old room, which alerts his dad. His dad thinks that he's imagining things and that David died years ago, calling himself crazy, but David reassures him that he's not and leaves. Back at the suite, Roland rings up his crew and provides them with David's potential jump sites in order to track him. Now back to David. He is seen stalking Millie, his childhood crush, who now works in a bar. He tries to keep his head down and leave, but his old high school bully recognizes him and starts drawing attention to him. Then a fight breaks out between the two and David is forced to use his powers. He teleports Mark into a random vault as revenge for 9 years ago. Good luck explaining that to the cops. When he returns, he approaches Millie, who says that she already noticed him staring at her. The two start to catch up, and it is evident that both of them still have feelings for each other. David then offers to take her to Rome, which happens to be her dream, so she happily accepts. Here David tells Millie that he is a banker. She clearly doesn't buy his bullshit but still goes along with it because free trip, you know? Then the two head towards Rome. Once they check in a hotel, the two get a bit freaky. And after they're done, the two head out to the Colosseum, unaware the mysterious guy from the bar is spying on them. Once they reach there, they're refused entry as the Colosseum is about to close. But David has other plans. He sneaks in and claims that he has a VIP pass. Millie knows that he's lying but still goes in. They look around and have a great time there. But before they can leave, the stranger approaches David and calls him out for his shenanigans. He introduces himself as Griffin and he too is a jumper. He warns David not to get too attached to anyone as they will be targeted by a secret organization called the Paladins, which is run by Roland. Then two of Roland's men appear. David runs away, leaving Griffin behind, who stays back and fights them. He eventually subdues them while David helplessly teleports around. David then follows Griffin through a jump rift left behind by him. He ends up in Griffin's hideout, which pisses him off and he kicks David out. David then teleports back to Millie and tries to flee the scene, but the staff catch him and arrest both of them for trespassing. At the station, David's mother, who was assumed dead until now, shows up and frees him. David then grabs Millie and takes her to the airport. When she asks him to explain what happened and who he actually is, he goes with the same banker story and sends her back home alone, which upsets her. Meanwhile, Roland visits David's dad. He asks about David and his whereabouts, but his deadbeat dad keeps quiet. Roland then notices a picture of David's mother, and after putting two and two together, he figures out that David's mother has been protecting David all this time. Once he's done, Roland takes out David's dad off screen. Afterwards, David teleports to Griffin's man cave. Griffin advises him to check up on any loose ends because Roland will be heading there, so David teleports to his old house to warn his dad, but he is too late. David breaks down in tears and teleports his dad to the hospital, but his dad already passed away. Then David heads to a police station to question Mark. Here he finds out that Mark snitched on David and Millie. In a fit of rage, David slams Mark into the wall and leaves. David, having no idea what to do next, heads to Griffin's place again. Here he says that he wants revenge on Roland, but Griffin advises him not to and tells him to move on, even showing him a scar from his previous encounter with Roland. Then David tries to persuade Griffin into helping him, but Griffin, being the smart guy that he is, refuses him to avoid trouble and heads out. David follows him and tails him all over the place. Until the two hop into a stolen car where Griffin shows off his sick drifting skills. He opens up to David, saying that Roland killed his parents when he was just 5 years old, so they kind of share mutual hate towards Roland. Eventually the two come to a temporary agreement to get rid of Roland. David then heads to the airport to find Millie. After realizing that he's too late, he then visits her apartment and finds her there. Here he tries to make up a bullshit excuse for his shady behavior back in Rome, but she isn't buying it and asks him to leave. Then Roland arrives, so David tries to rush things. He finally opens up to Millie, but she freaks out. And since he has no more time to explain, he teleports her to Griffin's hideout right before Roland enters. Here, Griffin gets pissed off and scolds David for coming back here with her, saying that Roland has a machine to keep jump rifts open and can teleport through them. The two head back in to deal with Roland, but David gets caught. Right before Roland can finish him off, Griffin shows up with a flamethrower and burns Roland. Roland, being the Chad that he is, gets right back up and starts to insult Griffin's mother. Griffin sends him flying with a punch, and then when you least expect it, Griffin teleports a double-decker bus onto Roland. Now that's pretty sick. Roland manages to avoid it. As Roland is trying to recover, Griffin chases him down with a flamethrower like he owes him money. Roland escapes through the jump rift, and Griffin follows him to finish him off. Meanwhile, Millie frees David and asks him to take her back home, like nothing else is going on. Before he can do so, Griffin teleports back with Roland's machine. Thinking they're safe, they drop their guard, but Roland grabs Millie through the rift and drags her in while saying,
"Get over here, motherfucker."
And yeah, he totally said that. This is not edited. Afterwards, Griffin is seen trying to set up a bomb in order to blow up the apartment, but David tries to stop him because of collateral damage and that he's a simp. He then takes the detonator and teleports away. Griffin follows him and the two start arguing over what's right and wrong. The two start flying all over the place. Eventually David realizes that it's pointless, so he has to stop Griffin. He then comes up with an ingenious plan of trapping Griffin in an electric grid line. After he traps Griffin, Griffin tries to reason with him, but David ignores him and heads towards Millie. After careful consideration, David comes up with a brilliant plan to get Millie out of there. It involves walking in there and asking Roland nicely. Much to our surprise, Roland traps him and proceeds to talk shit to him. David then tries to desperately teleport the entire apartment, but Roland laughs and calls him weak. However, David tries again and this time he's successful. The entire apartment appears underwater, and once David frees himself, he teleports all of them to his old library. And if you notice, David does like this library for some reason. He then grabs Roland and drops him on the side of a cliff, telling him to stay put for his Uber. Afterwards, he visits his mother, where his stepsister Kristen Stewart opens the door for him. His mother admits that she walked out on David and his father in order to keep them safe. She then hugs David goodbye and David heads outside where Millie is waiting for him. The two teleport away, and with this the movie ends. However, it doesn't show what happened to Griffin or whether Roland comes after David again, since there is no sequel, and I doubt David even returned the money he stole. And if you enjoyed watching this, then give it a like and subscribe for more content. Apart from that, have a great day and I'll see you next time.